Welcome to the Set to Lead podcast, the online mentoring platform for emerging and current leaders. My name is Marianne Samdi, leadership coach and talent development expert, and I will be your host.
Before we get started with the conversation, here's a brief announcement from Marianne. Your team needs you. New hire onboarding, team communications, team management, team motivation, and the list goes on and on. How effective are your efforts to create a high-performing team? Grab the free Team Effectiveness Survey and Checklist and pinpoint areas where your team could improve. This will ensure your team always stays on track and you always shine. Grab it for free at settolead.com. Now, back to the show.
Welcome to the show, Manny.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for stopping by. Our show today is going to be about how to create an A-team for startups. But before we dig into it, tell the audience about your background.
For sure. So I've been working with startups for about 6 years. I founded my own company. I've exited company in the past. I've been doing this for about 6 years now. So kind of have a little bit of idea about hiring and how to find the right team and all.
What is it that you do in the company that you created?
Usually I'm in charge of selecting the right people, basically building up the company. It's all and raising funds. Usually what a CEO does is raise funds and hire the right people, and the right people will get the job done.
Right.
So that's what pretty much I do.
What's your company do?
So currently I founded Intro.vc. Intro.vc is a video-based networking platform which provides entrepreneurs exposure among the right investors. And on the investor side, we have like accredited investors such as like lawyers, dentists, and such high net worth individuals who are very interested in connecting with pre-seed to seed startups. So we basically can connect these investors with the right startups so that they can raise funds and so on.
Very, very valuable. Thank you for that high-level summary there. What type of roles do you believe startup owners should look to hire first? Is there anything that they should hire first before anything else?
Honestly, it really depends. So I would say, like, if you're a tech startup, you definitely need someone with a really good tech background, like a CTO, or even at least a product manager or something. CTO would be the right role, and or if you can have a co-founder, then that is even better. But if you're like a single founder and it's a tech startup, you need a CTO. And also it depends, right? If you're starting a chocolate company, for instance, like Midday Squares, which is a very good company that from Montreal. For them, it's more like a community builder is more important. So it depends. It depends on the requirement of the startup.
Okay. What about like a CFO? Is that something that you should invest in right away, or is that a role that can wait?
A CFO is definitely like if you have funds, yeah. If you're starting your company, if it's like a really early stage, then CFO is not what you're looking for, right? You want traction, you want to prove your idea. So at that time, CFO is not what's the most important for early stage. Yeah, as the time passes, yes, CFO is a very important role as well.
But in the beginning, it's typically maybe a CTO, a co-founder, and maybe not a CMO, but a community builder.
CMO and a community builder is somewhat same. It's like PR, promoting your business. So you do need like someone who can take care of, because startup is very small and you don't have a lot of funds. So when you don't have a lot of funds, pretty much like the same person will be doing different tasks. So CMO could also help you with partnerships, like with the PR and so on. So you need to hire, like especially in the early stage, you want to look for people that can multitask, like do multiple roles.
Right. And so basically, in essence, I guess you're really bootstrapping.
Exactly. Once you raise, it's completely a different story than usually startups raise with an intention to scale. So if you're scaling, then you need a CFO, you need a CMO, like to do marketing, and someone PR person just for partnerships and spreading the word. Yeah. But until then, when you're bootstrapping, you need to find people that are really, really unique and can do multiple tasks for your company, basically.
And so is it also fair to say that in terms of a chief salesperson, the owner is really the chief salesperson when you're a startup?
Yeah, for sure. Like when I started, for every company that I started, the first guy to go around selling the product was me. So yeah, I totally agree to that.
Okay. Is there a certain amount of capital necessary to get started with team recruitment?
Definitely. Unless you're like, when I started, I found really, really amazing people around me, and I kind of convinced them to come on board and work for free. But
really,
yeah, my whole team worked for free until we raised. So yeah, and we worked for about over 8 months, and none of them took any money or like equity or anything. But now,
how does that work? Talk to us a little bit more about that. How could that happen? I mean, are you hiring interns?
No, that is, I'll get to that. That is a very good point as for hiring interns. But before that, so it's all about networking. So when I started thinking about my product, to build this, I didn't have any money. Basically, so far I haven't spent any money on creating this, but I have a product. I have like people working on it. So it is all about like networking, and you have to find people that see the vision and they really believe in it, and they think that, oh, it's going to be something huge, and I want to be part of it. And the people that think like that, they need to be the right people as well. For instance, our salesperson, Carl, I met Carl like 6 months ago, and he created his own company, a transportation company, which is very successful. And I saw how good he's with sales. So I kind of offered him, I showed him the big picture, like how big this company can grow and the traction that we are getting. And within like half an hour, I was able to convince him and have him. He's been working with me ever since, and I've never paid him. So
tell me, what does that conversation sound like, Manny? How do you convince someone to partner with you for free? What does that conversation sound like?
First, it's all about trust and the way that you build the trust. And also, you don't want to make any fake promises. You want to be very transparent with where you are at and where you're going to be. So you be super transparent, and you build a really good relationship with whoever the prospect is. You first look if they're good at what they do, and then you see their motivation. And on our conversation, basically, what I told Carl is that, hey, the transportation company can definitely become big in Montreal, but Intro can go global, and we can all we have a lot of struggles, and it's going to be really fun taking this risk. But once we get out of that, the results are going to be really, really amazing, and it's going to be really huge. So you need to be able to make that person see the vision, because as a founder, you quit everything that you're doing to start this company because you believe in it so much, and you just basically need to find people that will believe in that idea just as much as you do.
So you're purely offering equity, potentially?
For these people, no. So it's common. I offered Carl, Laura, Julian, and all like common stock. I mean, like a stock option plan and a salary once we raise. So until we raise, we're just building this company together.
And you could probably get over with that type of methodology for at least a year or so?
Yes, for sure. I would say if they're really, really good people and but you have to see their financial burden as well. Like someone who's like really, really broke, you don't want to convince them to come on board for free for 6 months. But if they're financially somewhat set, it's really easy if that person is passionate enough to join a team like this.
And is it fair to say that maybe they should start on a part-time basis with those type of offers?
Uh, I would say it totally depends on the person that you're talking to. Someone who's like really like not really affected by money or salary and just want to work on something big, they would just come on board full time. But yeah, mostly if you're talking to someone who's just out of school or college and looking for a job but don't have a lot of money, for that type of people, yeah, part time would be the best. But if you want to raise money, raise capital, investors will look at like how many full-time employees do you have than part-time. So like if you can get full-time employee who full-time like team who's just doing that single project and they just want to make it big, that is like the best thing you can do.
Have you ever tried outsourcing your startup team for money before?
Yes, I've tried. I've done outsourcing for engineering team.
And how did that work out?
It was pretty terrible. So when I started this company, for instance, in the initial time, I outsourced the engineering to an engineering company based in India. I don't want to name them, but yeah. So these guys promised me a lot of things. Their marketing person who spoke to me was like, yeah, within 2 months we can fix it and all. But the engineers were really mediocre. And with like in 2 months, I spent all my savings that I had, and the product was not good. Nothing was working, and they just dropped out. So you definitely don't want to outsource engineering work for equity. That is definitely a bad move, I would say.
Wow.
Yeah, but in my case, in the past, I have had offered equity, and what happens is they're all like really pumped in the beginning, especially from countries like India. I'm from India too, so countries like India, there's a lot of really good talent, engineers, and everybody starts this like in a small software company. And what happens is some of them are good, really, really good, but most of them are like they're like they just finished their school and they're just looking for a job. So they joined this team. Now they just want to work on a project, and they would do it for equity for like maybe 2-3 months or even 4 months. Then after that, on the side, they keep on looking for works which pay them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so like when they get a job, like when they get paid contracts, they would just leave you just like that, and you're stuck with like giving away a chunk of your equity. And also for investors, it's kind of like a red flag. Investors would not want to get involved in a startup that actually shared equity with the software company mostly. Yeah.
Interesting. So, typically you're probably not going to be looking for just one person. How do you go about identifying who will work best together? What personality types work best together? Or what are some questions you can ask? Or what are some characteristics you're looking for in terms of who will mesh well and be a good balance as a team?
I usually, instead of asking questions, what I do is I look at their work. The interview is not like, I don't really conduct an interview or anything. So in the early stage, what I did was I would look around on LinkedIn, or like I talk to people. I do a lot of networking to see people from different fields. And if I need a marketing person, what I would do is talk to various people with marketing backgrounds. Like for instance, Carl, he doesn't have any experience in tech companies. He built a transportation company, but he was really, really good at what he does, which is sales. So I spoke to him, and I kind of built that connection and that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say it mostly depends on, if you have the time, the best thing would be to get to know the person better, get to know the initial team really well before you ask them to join your team.
How long do you think the vetting process should be, or does that depend?
It totally depends. Like some people, you just see them and you want to take them. Some just talk a lot. Like I've gotten into really bad situation by hiring the wrong people. So what I did was, like, they would come in and say that I have this much experience, like 30 years of experience. I find your idea really good. I can bring this much, that much. Like when people, when they talk, you kind of trust them and you just engage. And after engaging, you will see that it's all just talk. So you don't want that to happen, right? So I would suggest that working with in the early stage, it's really important to work with people first before we commit into hiring them into a role.
Really? And so how long would you do that pre-work for?
I would say like what I did was I spoke to like all my team members for like a month, 2 months. And for early stage startups, two of my team member, they were interns in the beginning. So I found them through Startup Grind. And what I did was I hired them as interns, and we had like 20 interns, and most of them were not serious, but these two guys, just amazing. They take initiative. It's very important, like especially the first team of the startup. You need people that have that entrepreneurial like a mindset. They take initiative. They don't wait for you to give them a task, and they are always thinking about the product. They always want to grow this. So you need to find people that are really motivated, and they take initiative on their own, and they're not dependent on anybody else, and they're a very good team player and add value. Really, how much time you work on a project is not what I look for. It's about how much value you can add. And these two interns turned our my COO Julian was an intern in the beginning, and he's just very incredible. Like he's really, really good at what he does. And it took me 4 months of working with him to really understand that. And
4 months as an intern, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So, when you start off with interns, and you're saying you've probably done a little bit of both, right? There are certain instances probably where you started off as an intern, and then there's other instances where you immediately knew about their work outputs and you negotiated more of a stock option offer?
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
So when you go the intern route, what are some best practices to get started with interns? Do you recommend going with one intern at a time, or you typically hire several at once?
I would hire several at once because you don't really know. Also, interns, you don't have to hire paid interns. Like you can, like in the US, like there's a lot of students, like, from UCLA, or if you go to like really good colleges, the first year students, second year students, they are looking for exposure, and they are really, really motivated. So even if you talk to them, or a Startup Grind is a very good platform where you can find a lot of interns if you partner with them. Or like these kind of there are various channels where you can find, and you don't have to hire paid interns. You should just hire free interns. That's when you will really understand how good they are, really.
Have you ever hired interns that aren't necessarily coming through a formal college recruitment center?
Yeah, for sure. I have, for instance, one intern that I have came through college itself. Like I spoke to one of my employee, and he knew a bunch of people, like a bunch of students from UCLA. So he asked them around, and they were interested. It's all about like just asking people around from colleges and see if they're interested.
What are some project management approaches you've leveraged with them to make sure that expectations are clear in terms of the work that they're doing?
So initially, what I did was I used most of my interns with the outreach or to onboard users. And I set like 50 outreach a week, 50 LinkedIn messages a week. And a lot of them did not do, but there were like some interns, they were kind of reaching that goal. But since they're free, they're looking for exposure. You cannot really like be like super strict with them either. So this is a very good place where you can really see how motivated the people, like, the interns are.
Interesting. So you're saying part of, I hate to use the word tests, but is you start off with tasks, sales related or outreach related tasks, to understand if they have the right personality type you're looking for, that go-getter personality.
Exactly. So once you start working with them, you'll really understand. You give them the you ask them, you talk to them, you be really friendly with them, understanding, because this their first exposure and stuff. So Once you build that a really good relationship, then you ask them to do some tasks. Usually it's onboarding that I do, and I'll see how committed they are. It's all about commitment and initiative. Like like, the experience really doesn't matter that much to me, honestly. What I look for is how committed they are and how motivated they are, and how do they think, and how do they fix the problem, how do they find the solution to fix the problem.
But when you start getting into the technical tasks that you want to assign, do you have a favorite project management or tracking tool that you use?
We do use Asana.
Okay.
We do use Asana to see how for our engineers. And one of the person who's doing that, he was an intern at one point too, and he's really, really, really smart, and he does all that work.
Do you also give your tech folks non-technical tasks?
No, I don't really. So the thing is, I don't really follow any methods that are preset or like from the books or anything. What I do is I really look for people that are passionate. Like, for instance, one of our team member, Michael, when he joined us an intern to do outreach, but now he managed our product, and he has been coding since he was 13, and really, really smart guy. So I don't really tell him to do like a 9 tasks or anything. What I ask him is like, hey, we have to see how our users are behaving with our product. We basically want to provide a product that the users love. So we just keep on looking how users are behaving, and based on that, we plan and we bring on new features. We discuss. It's all like, you work as a team. You don't really,
I understand. There's a lot of room, flexibility to innovate and cultivate the product.
Exactly, and you don't want to put like way too many limitations on the people that work with you either. If you put like tasks and stuff, then they're like limited to that. If you give them an open space for their creativity, that's even better.
That's even better, right? Less structure, the more you get to see who they are, and there's more room to create something wonderful.
Exactly. And also, you don't want to work as like in a hierarchy. Like, especially when you work in a startup, you don't want to work at like, you're the CEO, I'm the CMO. Like, you don't want any of those. You just want to work with them, and everybody working together, brainstorming. And they would, like, if you have a really good team, they will bring in the tasks for you, and they will achieve it by themselves, and the value would be incredible. So I look at the value than time or tasks or anything. Value is more important for me.
Oh, that's phenomenal, because you're really setting up an inclusive experience.
Exactly.
So as you go through this structure and this methodology, when someone doesn't work out, how do you kindly let them go?
It's pretty easy. Like, you basically talk to them and you ask them. It's a process before you let them go. You ask them why is that happening. Like, if they're not able to fulfill tasks, there's some reason to it. Either it's not something that they enjoy doing, or they have other things to do, or they're distracted. So you basically want to understand the reason for it. If the reason is like it's not something that they enjoy doing, so then it's better to let them go, right? Like, you just offer them, you just talk to them, and I think it's not a good fit for you. Maybe you should try something else. It's if you're not enjoying, you should not waste your precious time on this, So that's how I tell them to do something that they're passionate about.
When you go through the interns, Manny, would you recommend a typical time frame to start off with? Is a good internship program maybe at minimum start for 3 months, 4 months, 6 months? What would you recommend to someone out there?
I would recommend not to put any such restrictions or any such structure, like a 3-month, 6-month contract, or no such thing. You want to really let the people that join your team should be like, they should join at their own will, and they want to be there. that's why they're there, So you basically want to include like as many, if interns, if people want to work with you, you just invite them, you start working with them. They can quit anytime they want. So that is even better, so that like people that actually quit, they're not really passionate about this. So you can really curate and find the best people at the end. At the end of like 3 to 4 months, you'll be able to find really good people. And those that stick with you are really, they really want to work with you, and they love working on this project, basically.
These were excellent tips, Manny. Thank you so much. Before we end our episode for today, let the audience know how they can follow you and reach you if they have any questions.
I would say just reach out to me at manny@ideaintro.in. That's my email address. Or they can also reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I'd be more than happy to help in any way. Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for having me here. And if I can add any value to startups, that'd be awesome for sure.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.